Worldview defines scarcity as a limited amount of resources required to satisfy man's limited needs. Some of the studies indicate scarcity also includes an individual's lack of resources to buy goods or services. The economic problem is concerned with studying the relationship between economic resources on one hand and the needs of society and individuals on the other hand. As scarcity is associated with human needs such as the need for water, food, shelter, and other basic needs that contribute to the continuation of life. This state happens because of deficiency in demand or supply in the market or intense population causes overcrowding and population migration to other fragile ecological areas. Furthermore, economists break down the factors of production of goods and services into four categories: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. These resources are described as scarce as the distribution of the factors in producing goods and services is exercising different economic systems in certain places. This motivates people to seek and search for appropriate means and resources to satisfy their needs and discover that these needs are more than their ability to satisfy them within the available economic resources. And this is what the economic problem deals with and what is called economic scarcity. On the other hand, Islamic economics assume goods that are available throughout the planet are enough for individuals to meet the basic needs, or in Islamic terms, daruriyah. The Creator, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, has created this world and all living creatures in the best forms with sufficient resources to live along. As an example, Allah creates renewable resources that can be replenished to substitute the proportion consumed from the consumption, such as water. This economic scarcity is a problem facing all human societies of various race, religion, and color. It's not specific to at least one place without the opposite or at selected time. Societies in their endeavor to satisfy their needs will face limited resources. And this is often the essence of the economic problem, economic scarcity. Economic scarcity is one of the fundamentals on which economics is predicated, because it refers to the gap between limited resources and unlimited demands in theory. And scarcity simply means the shortage of sufficient resources to satisfy all needs. This example may be a continuous state, even with human progress and technological development. The matter of economic scarcity will remain. Therefore, the problem of economic scarcity must be sacrificed and chosen through a comparison between the available option and barter to settle on a choice that achieves the best possible satisfaction by using the available resources that are scarce in nature. There are two kinds of scarcity: absolute and relative. Allow us to first take a gander at what relative scarcity is. Relative scarcity is the place where a good is normally restricted in supply. In this way, there is just a limited number accessible. In any case, we characterize relative scarcity as being normally restricted, but in scant comparative with demand. All in all, relative scarcity is the place where supply does not fulfill demand. Yet, this is because of a limited supply of assets instead of an organization failure to distribute. Absolute scarcity, however, is the place where supply of a good is restricted. In other words, there is not anything humanly workable for us to build supply. Nevertheless, absolute scarcity is a place where the quantity of products cannot lessen. For instance, we have a flat-out scarcity for 24 hours each day. This cannot be broadened nor diminished. In a similar style as a relative scarcity, request or demand cannot be made. In any case, absolute scarcity is scant immaterial to demand. Problems occur as resources that are crucial to society's operation became scarcer over time. Concurrently, we often assume that people are poor because they lack the willpower or intellect to work hard and make the correct decisions. However, new research shows how a scarcity of different resources is not just a physical limitation, but also shapes everyone's decisions and behaviors. Resource shortage can lead to common problems, including malnutrition, drought, and even war. This is because basic resources are scarce regardless of a variety of reasons, including natural resources exploitation or inadequate government planning by economists. Besides that, those who have more resources have the power to get a small community because of the system of pricing. This occurrence sets in a divide between the wealthy and the poor, which make it possible to provide the rich more regardless of the needs of the poor. The poor management will lead the country to have a major gap among their citizens, thus creating poverty, where the people are not even able to buy necessities to survive. Based on what we're showing here, economic scarcity means that needs and desires outweigh resources. But this is relationship on launch. Other economic resources available in our world do not cover our needs at all. But in our world, we see famines in some countries, while we see other countries throwing surplus products into the sea to preserve their global price. And in one country, we see some very poor neighborhoods that cannot meet their basic needs, while we see other neighborhoods receiving large quantities such as leftovers of food in waste. As it seems, scarcity is clearly related to poverty due to limited resources. This comes to terms as the resources are not well managed and dispersed to the people in a good manner. As we see, when a country lacks the ability to properly acknowledge the importance of resource allocations, certain people will not have the proper amount of basic needs throughout their life, especially where the country practices capitalism, where we can see people living in the streets and not having enough to survive properly. Thus, the politicians should take the initiative here and provide the best assistance to ensure that the interests of the vulnerable are taken care into account. However, we can also see, despite being an Islamic economic practicing country, the Saudi Arabia still have cases such as malnutrition and poverty in the urban areas. Now, why is this still happening? Does Islamic economics not suggest how to deal with this matter? It is in the system that is based on the principles of Islamic law and belief that the economic problem is the result of human injustice to himself, through laziness and failure to exploit available resources, and his confinement of others from society through hoarding and monopoly, and the application of wrong policies due to the distribution of economic wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has explained this matter in the Holy Quran in Surah Ibrahim, verse 32 to 34, saying, "It is Allah who created the heavens and the earth and sends down rain from the sky, causing fruits to grow as a provision for you. He has subjected the ships for your service, sailing through the sea by His command, and has subjected the rivers for you. He has also subjected for you the sun and the moon, both constantly orbiting, and subject the day and night for you. And He has granted you all that you ask Him for. If you try to count Allah's blessing, you would never be able to number them. Indeed, humankind is truly unfair, totally ungrateful."